Hi guys, how you doing today? Now, have you noticed something interesting? Whenever somebody asks, what is the most reliable car in Uganda, or what reliable car can I buy? Well, the most common answer is almost always Primo, Fielder, Rumion, Wish, Ractis. And honestly, those cars deserve their reputation because they're up there. But what happens when the budget is no longer 20 or 30 million shillings? Yeah? What if you are shopping in the 80, 100, or even 150 million shilling range? Does reliability suddenly disappear, or we stop wondering about reliability, we stop wanting reliability? Or are there luxury cars that are just as dependable as the Fielder and the Wish and the Romeo? That's the question we're answering today. Now, what luxury cars are actually reliable in Uganda? And I don't want to answer it using the American surveys, the European rankings, or manufacturer marketing tongue twisters. I want to answer it based on what we have seen here in Uganda through inspections, diagnostics, and obviously I talk to mechanics, parts dealers, importers, and owners. I'm going to be using that knowledge. Now, after seeing hundreds of vehicles over the years, certain patterns start being clear. Kibanga banagamba nti bamalaya batuuka ddi okwetabika bantu ba bulijjo. Bamalaya balina pattern n'abantu ba bulijjo balina pattern. Those are the patterns we're going to be using. Some luxury cars struggle when we talk about reliability. Others continue earning people's trust. Now, today, I am going to explain which modern luxury SUVs have proven themselves in Uganda. Yeah, and more importantly, why? Welcome to For the Love of Cars Uganda. 5th September 2026 is going to be the 2026 edition of the Love for Cars Convention. We will be bringing you the 2026 edition or the second edition of the Love of Cars magazine. Be there. Let's learn. And together, me and you, we're going to be giving away the Starlet, my project from 2025. For the love of cars, Uganda, we roll. Now, before I recommend a single SUV, I think it's only fair to you and the rest of the people that are watching that I explain to you how I reach these conclusions. Because reliability is not just about the engine. It's about ownership. When I look at a luxury SUV, Zenga Arthur, I ask myself 7 simple questions. Question 1, how easy is it to get parts? Spare parts, how easy is it to get it? And I'm not talking about just service parts, it's my air cleaner, it's my fuel filter, I'm not talking about oil, I'm not talking about plugs, the expensive ones. SUVs have never been cheap. I'm talking about the suspension components, the electronics, I'm talking about body parts, because if a car spends months parked in a garage waiting for parts, that affects ownership. Second, can Ugandan mechanics confidently repair the car? I'm not talking about those people who say I can, but banja abo ku TikTok webali yonze kabaka wayo ingiri bwabe kulemyenze yirete njagikola. I'm not talking about people that say they can repair or they can confidently work on the car. I am talking about people who actually understand the vehicle. You don't want to buy a luxury vehicle and then it becomes someone's training project. You don't want that. Third, what does it cost to maintain it properly? Like buying a luxury vehicle or SUV is one thing. Keeping it healthy for the next 10 years or so, or let's say 5 years, because most Ugandans don't drive more than 5 years. Keeping it healthy for the next 5 years is something else. Fourth, how well does it cope with the Ugandan conditions? Our fuel, some fuel is bad. Our roads are makubo mabi. Let's accept makubo mabi. Like 90% of our roads are bad. 99% of our roads are bad. The 1% that is here in the town and the highways are the ones, and even them they are. I've had people say they are substandard. You cannot confirm. You need to think about the traffic. Think about the climate. Some vehicles adapt remarkably well. Others don't. So, Number 5, I ask myself, what happens as the mileage increases? As the mileage, the reason why some of these cars have done very well is because the parts that wear out at around 180,000 kilometers, 300,000 kilometers, you get what wears out, what must be replaced, and are those repairs manageable or they are financially painful? Of course, number 6, then I'll ask myself is, does the market still trust the car? Because trust doesn't happen by accident. You don't just pray to God, no. You need to understand that strong resale value usually tells you that the owners, mechanics, and other buyers still have confidence in the car. And finally, I ask myself something that is very difficult to find in any brochure. Salesperson, you need to ask yourself, what's the inspection history like? There are cars that we buy, so you need to ask yourself, because so you're not looking at one inspection. You need to be able to trace back the various inspections that have been done on this car. Because after inspecting enough vehicles, patterns start emerging. So those patterns are what shape today's list. So let's begin with the first SUV. So of course you're asking yourself, which SUV I would recommend first? Without hesitation, drums roll, the Lexus RX 350. Now, before you guys start, some of you guys you're going to start rushing in the comment section and saying, Arthur, there are more luxury SUVs than the RX. Yes, I know. There are faster SUVs. There are more expensive SUVs. There are SUVs with better interiors. There are SUVs that drive better. But remember, that is not today's question. Today's question is simple. Which luxury SUVs have repeatedly proven themselves in Uganda? And that's exactly why the RX 350 is here. RX efana na kaundo. Nfana tukimanyi. Actually, but you know to labira kaundo ogwedemi. Na iyo Lexus echuka. We all know Lexus echuka. One thing I have noticed over the years is that Toyota and Lexus rarely try to reinvent everything with every new model. Instead, they improve what already works. You guys have heard of the Kaizen principle. They try to improve. They improve. Continuous improvement. Yeah? So the RX 350 is a perfect example of that philosophy. Let's begin with the heart of the vehicle, the engine. Kati. You see, we have the Harriers that come with the 2.4. Most of them come with the 2.4. Now, most of the RX 350s you'll find in Uganda are powered by the 2.5 liter V6. If you've spent time around Toyota products, you have probably had mechanics speak highly of this 3.5. Okay, they don't have to speak. It never dies. It never dies. The Toyota. Erimu yingi niyo 35 ngifudde atola babiri binaze zibalimo okutta kati kuba maka fananyi ngovuga 35 and that's because this engine ina reputation y'amanyi. That's why how many times have you seen a Lexus RX 350 dead on the road? Never. You see the power with these 3.5 liter engines from Toyota is that they don't surprise you with catastrophic failures. No, they don't. When they are properly serviced, oil is changed on time, a cooling system is maintained, quality filters are used. I need you to understand it's one of the reasons why they have earned trust with everyone. Even me, they just simply keep doing their job. They never die. That's one of the biggest advantages of these engines. Now, I want you to compare the RX 350 to some of the luxury vehicles, the Tiguans, the Touareg, the X5, CX5. Compare. Many of them drive beautifully. Yeah? They drive very beautifully. Some of them handle better than the RX. Some produce more power. Some feel more premium inside. But after a few years on Ugandan roads, the conversation changes. It becomes tears, spending money. Someone bought yali moroka che no Volvo XC90 guy yagula Volvo XC90 nayivuga emyezi mukaaga myezi ejo mukaaga moroka ngulide milioni aga ngara wo musa sente yaziteeka ne tosobola kugandi yazisawa naye nga azitaddemu kati ogwasembayo lwe mbasangira eggulu yafaaki nga bamusama mu kitundu moroka n'agivako n'atandika okuvuga primo. You get? So those cars that you can compare to the RX, over time they become problematic. It becomes about keeping it on the road. You get? It's no longer about whether the vehicle is moving. You find owners saying those things. And that's where the RX 350 starts separating itself from the cars in its class. Now, the second reason is something that many buyers underestimate. For the love of cars, Uganda, we roll. Parts availability. Walk switch seka market. Tambule watch seka. And trust me, tosobola kutambula maduuka asatu nga tebagambi tubirina. Kasibire mataala. Kebere radiator. Kagabere mapesa ga muda. Osegera. Bijja kuba ba bei naye bijja kubaawo. Bwe bikula wane Kenya munaku bbiri oba obifunye. Call importers. Call part owners. The RX 350 isn't treated like an exotic vehicle. It's a normal vehicle. Motoka yaffe kasangwawo. Naggwano. You get many parts are very breaks away. Zidi amatala we suspension zimanya habu simanya shoko. Ebyo bintu byonna byonna weebiri. Ate ne bwe bibula oteekamu ebyakawundo n'obaala. Eyo comfort ogitta naye oteekamu n'okola ki? N'obaala. So the question, is whether spending on this car becomes predictable. Now guys, let's be fair. The RX 350 is not a cheap car to maintain. Starting with fuel consumption, that car can consume. It's not cheap. Tires, they are not the same price as a Primo. Brake discs, scissors as a fielder. Body panels, there is a lady that knocked with her Lexus bumper naji user. We bought it from Kenya at about, was it 4.5 million shillings? Just buying the bumper. Now we had to pay for the bus fare to bring it to us to Kampala. Taxes. Bumper yagenda ogenda ku motoka ngemazewe million dollars azalinga musanvu. Bumper alone. So it's not cheap. It's not like a Corolla. You get? But the parts are not impossible to find. And when you find them, they're in the exact fit. That's an important difference. Then comes another factor that buyers normally overlook. Mechanic familiarity. Emoroka mechanica jama nyo jivangako. Jivanga bonogamba. A friend of mine told me a story of his brother who fell sick. Some time ago, the brother is still alive. But the brother fell sick. Na amala omwaka munamba ku intensive care because he had insurance. Nge Uganda obulwadde bubabuzi. They had to call researchers in America that told them the sickness that the brother had. Now the brother is okay, but because he was in intensive care, in a coma for a year, he doesn't walk normal. He has never been a normal human being since then. You get? You don't want to have a car where for problems like that you need to call someone in Nigeria. The guys that you don't want to buy a car because experience reduces guesswork. You get experience reduces guesswork. Makanika bulwamanya kyakole moroka bimwangwira. And guesswork is usually what makes luxury cars expensive to own. Nkadem, guesswork is what makes luxury cars expensive to own. Ezo ne moroka zemula beziba sumbwa BMW X5 usimenya tuware. Guesswork. Now, you need to understand that reliability should be tested over time. Now let's talk about age, because it's where reliability is truly tested. Most of the RX 350s being imported into Uganda today are no longer young vehicles. Many are approaching or exceeding 180,000 kilometers. What normally starts showing up at that stage? Suspension begins to wear, the wheel bearings start to wear down, the engine mounts start busting, the water pumps start giving way. Occasionally, ignition coils, the plugs, sometimes even oil seepage around aging seals. Notice something. Most of these are wear and tear items. When it wears down, it tears. When it tears, you need to replace it. They are not failures that immediately make you question whether you bought the right car. They are the kind of, I don't know how to say it, they are the kind of repairs that you'd expect from a luxury SUV that has done nearly 200,000 kilometers. And that's important. It's a very important distinction. Let's talk about the resale value. The used car market is honestly very tempting. It's very testing. Testing your patience. It doesn't care about what the dealer told you when we are buying the car. It doesn't care about what the internet is saying. Google. The used car market doesn't care about all that. It rewards owners' trust. It rewards the trust that the general public has in the car. You get the RX 350 continues holding its value remarkably well in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania, everywhere. The Lexus is Toyota. Lexus is Toyota. You get. So we need to understand that mechanics understand it, the parts are available, the owners recommend it, and you know that confidence feeds into the next buyer's confidence. So would I choose the RX 350 over a BMW X5 or the Volvo XC90 or the ML 350 in the same budget? For Uganda, yes. Not because the German cars have bad vehicles. Far from that. I want to choose this RX because it doesn't perform better than those cars. In fact, they can outperform it in many areas. But driving is only one chapter of ownership. You get, maintaining the vehicle is another. Finding parts is another. Living with it year after year is another. Those chapters, zimataringa. Togenda genda kwa moroka ende duka. Okuduka ogenda kudukiranga kwa express bakola speed 10. And that's why the RX 350 is winning all these cars. That's why I put it in number 1. It's luxury with Toyota reliability. So if somebody asked me today for one luxury SUV that balances comfort, reliability, parts availability, resale value, and long-term ownership better than almost anything in this class, the Lexus RX 350 would be one of my first recommendations. Now, before you come and say Prado, the Lexus will be cheaper when you're buying, it will be cheaper when you're selling, which means people will buy it faster. The second SUV on my list is one that I don't think needs much introduction. Drums roll. The Toyota Land Cruiser Prado 150. And here is an interesting question. When did the Prado stop being just a 4-wheel drive and become a luxury SUV? Very interesting. Because if you think about it, you can arrive at a 5-star hotel in a Prado. It looks perfectly at home. Drive the same Prado to a farm, a construction site, a game park, and it still looks like it belongs there. Now, a few luxury vehicles can achieve that. That's one of the biggest reasons it has earned such a loyal following in Uganda. Now let's talk about what really matters. Now, most Prados that you'll find on our market are powered by the 1KD FTV. Mujitegede yeri mu drone, ejira mu drone, esoro kujira mu 40 nobo, and of course some newer ones come with the 1GD FTV diesel engines. Now, the 1KD is an engine that we're all familiar with. We know it very well. Mu is a femweri mu Hilux mweri. Yeah, if it's serviced properly, given good fuel and oil, it will go to very high mileages. However, buyers should always pay attention, to the injector condition and service history, because neglected injectors have been responsible for some of the very expensive engine repairs. However, buyers should always pay attention to the injector condition. Injectors, when we are inspecting cars, for example, look at the injectors and see if they have been serviced properly, because badly serviced injectors have been responsible for some of the most expensive repairs mwezo engine. Now, the newer 1GDs bring more refinement. Now, of course, katimuchi manyo for 1KD twina twajane 1GD jane DPF ezimuzi jane adi blue. That means that owners who may make short trips in town, they need to understand how the system works so that they don't create problems that are not actually mechanical failures. Another reason I rate Prados highly up there, and almost everyone, is very simple. Confidence. Buyer confidence. Owner confidence. Abantu abalina emmoroka eyo bagyewulira. N'abagenda ogigula agyewulira. Confidence from the market is very, very important. Travel almost everywhere in Uganda and you will find mechanics who understand the Prado. Wonna, you'll find parts in the major towns everywhere. The kind of support that every car owner needs for their car to survive in Uganda. And then of course you have to talk about the resale value. The 150 abantu bajagala. Sente zisalaka abantu. Nenga the 150 buli muntu aba ajagala akoleki. Ajugula agenda akoleki. Agende ye yagale. So the Prado has become one of those vehicles that people actively search for, not because it's cheap, not because it saves fuel, but because people trust it. Now, to me, that's one of the strongest endorsements that any vehicle can receive. Now, if you need one luxury vehicle or one luxury SUV that can comfortably serve as a family vehicle, a business vehicle, an upcountry vehicle, without feeling out of place anywhere, the Prado 150 is that car that will definitely make it anywhere without tejja kufiiriza. Bw'ogenda mbaavu bakulaba ng'oli mugagga naye tebalaba nti oli mugagga nnyo. Bw'ogenda mbagagga ne bwe baba balina mmoloka ki tebakulaba nga mwavu bakulaba nga mugagga munnaabwe. Bw'ogenda ku faamu bagamba mugagga wuuyaze. Eyo Prado jjajja n'ebibbebi. Now we have come to the SUVs that are constantly compared. Now, of course, you cannot know they are compared if you have never compared them. Ontegeera, bw'oba tokomparinga otosobola kumanya nti tibakomparinga. Kati nze nkubuulira. The Lexus LX 570 and the Land Cruiser 200. To many buyers, they look like completely different cars, but for us that know. One wears a Lexus badge, the other wears a Toyota badge. One looks more luxurious, the other looks more rugged. But underneath, they are much closer than many people actually have ever seen. They share the same philosophy. Build something that can survive almost anywhere, then make it comfortable enough to drive every day. That's exactly why both of them deserve to be on this list. Let's begin with the engine. Now, the Lexus will come with the 3UR V8 petrol. Yeah, very strong, 5.7 liter. You cannot spoil it. Teri muntu asobola kota engine ya 5.7 okujjako nga tokola service. The LC200s will come with 4.6 1UR, 4.7 2UR, and then weziba diesel zijiramu ya diesel 1VD. Very strong engines. Because they are built to be SUVs, they don't have small engines. They are very, very strong engines. The common models that we see right now, these are between 2012 and I think around 2015. They will come with this, I think the 6-speed automatic. And then the later models, 2020s, zija with 8-speed automatic. Eyo gearbox ogiraba, ebedduka. Egenda okumalayo giya okutuuka ku giya ey'omukaaga muganda wange. Ng'emisinde gy'erimu. Now, all these cars will come with full-time four-wheel drive. Era yemu ku nsonga lwaki zinywa. They are heavy on the road, but they're also very comfortable. Now, I want us to look at the things that separate these cars. Now, all the engines I've talked about, let it be diesel or petrol, are very strong. Now, I always recommend you guys buy petrol engines because most of you guys don't do the distances that diesel needs to warm up. Now, all these engines, whether diesel or petrol, have over the years proven to be remarkably durable. You know, these engines, katugenda ku 3UR, it's not an engine that will appear in any workshop. So ogenda gisanga tusanga ze 3L nga ziremedde mu garage, you will never find that engine there because it doesn't have major internal failures. Tetera kufa. Most of the vehicles that I've seen ziberawo mu lujanga tezifa. I told you guys I was buying nani ngula chimuluka cyari mu yingini wacyari mu VD era cyari Lexus wacyari Cygnus nga kiri mu yingini 4.7 liter. I think it was a 2UZ nga kirabika bubi naye nga yingini bogikoleza bwoti nserifu nga nserifu tolina kyoyinza gikola. So, but of course these engines, with being reliable, being powerful, they come with an obvious downside, the fuel. But of course nobody buys a 5.7 liter V8 expecting primo fuel consumption. And if If obviously that's your biggest concern, then and most people shopping in this category already understand that these engines consume fuel. The real ownership problem is not fuel. Their question has never been fuel. They are looking at reliability. Nti wensimbula neva onengapa ngena ntungam ntuka nenkomawo ngemotoka tensumbuye emitwalo ensanvu egy'amafuta nkolaki njirina naye ntuuka. The obvious question is, how do you choose between these two cars? Yeah, the answer depends on the kind of person you are. The Land Cruiser 200 is a practical car. If you work regular, it takes you outside Kampala, you work on construction sites, farms, projects, or long distance trips East Africa wide. The 200 makes a lot of sense. It feels slightly less precious because staying in Majorobero, yeah, you're not constantly worried about scratching the expensive trim, damaging the luxury features. Emoroka nungi na ye teina saperi akwirarikira. Now, the other category of owners are the people that should buy the LX 570. Because gwe manyanti LX 570 ne LC 200 zina the same engineering. Everything is the same. But with the Lexus carries some special features. The cabin is quieter. The materials feel richer. The seats are more luxurious. There is more technology in the cabin. Yeah, there is more convenience, more attention to refinement. And after a long day behind the wheel, you genuinely notice the difference. Now, the question is, does that extra luxury come at a cost? Obviously, some suspension components are more expensive than those of the LC. Certain electronic features add complexity when fixing the electronics. Interior trim is certainly more expensive to replace, but mechanically, you still benefit from the Land Cruiser DNA that has made Land Cruiser a vehicle. President pizza Land Cruiser. And that's why I don't see these two SUVs as competition. They don't compete. If your priority is compatibility, choose the Land Cruiser. If your priority is comfort, luxury, then choose the LX 570. Now, before someone comes to this comment section and angrily says, but you man, you have forgotten this SUV. And another one says, but Arthur, you have forgotten that SUV. I have not. The SUVs you see are the SUVs I see. We travel on the same roads. There are many other SUVs that I believe deserve the recognition, even though they did not make today's discussion. You get, like for example, the Lexus GX460, the Lexus GX460. It's one of them. It's one of the most underrated SUVs in Uganda. It shares much of this engineering with the Prado, and that makes it very reliable. But it's not on my list today. If you find it very well maintained, there is a Toyota Land Cruiser, the 100 series. I know, it deserves respect. It's a bit older. I've been talking about cars that can come to up. Age alone does not make it an unreliable vehicle. A well-maintained Land Cruiser 100 series is still capable of giving many luxury SUVs a run for their money. Especially if you're looking at a customer that values a car that is unbreakable without looking at modern technology. You get. Then there is also GX470, I think. The GX470. Now you get. It's harder to find reliable ones now because the Moroka Zigenze Zikadi. It just did not make my list. Of course, now Katwaru Moroka, Bantu Abasinga Jimaga, Gato Yogide Koharia Kaun. Neka Undo Jerry. Neku Young, Erateri, Koka Undo Moroka Nunji, Erabo Change Mkumisatu, Iranato Inacho, Yukoda. You get. You see, some people don't immediately think of the Harrier Kaun as an SUV. But depending on the generation, it offers many of the same ownership benefits that we have discussed today. Good part support, strong resale value, Toyota reliability. The reason I have not analyzed these vehicles in detail today is not because they are not reliable. They are very good cars. It's simply because I wanted to focus on the SUVs that have consistently stood out in the Ugandan market, and those that are mostly recognized as the real SUVs, the Turabako. So, as we reach the end of this episode, I hope one thing is clear. Buying a luxury vehicle in Uganda is not just about choosing the most expensive badge, Mercedes, Volvo, BMW. It's about choosing the vehicle that still makes sense years after you bought it. One that has support by mechanics. The one that has readily available spare parts. The one that doesn't become a financial burden every time it needs attention. You get, you want to get a car that continues earning your confidence year in, year out, year in, year out, year in, year out. But in the next episode, we'll leave the SUVs and go into more executive sedans, so that we relax. I'm trying to but more on this is going to be at the Love for Cars convention on 5th September 2026. Get ready for our next video, not the really next, future video that will be talking about the luxury sedans, the Crowns, the Lexus GSs, we say the ALSs. Until next time, ciao.